what situations did I have to go through that you wanted me to ask about, so I can tell you the avenues that I went through to get to this point?
What kind of changes at work?
Kind of changes at work?
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things I had to get over with, that nothing is ever going to be the same.
Okay.
Everything changed during COVID.
Yep.
It's not going to recover from what it used to be. And a lot of times I got myself upset about, why is it like this? It should be this way. But it got me a lot of times. It really pissed me off, about why this thing is not working the way it should be. And I think the Lord kept trying to coach me, like, life is organic.
Mm-hmm.
See, the problem is with life is we try to take the moment that's good and put it like in a freeze frame and try to hold it at that point and try to make that point feel like that forever. And then when it's all of a sudden it changes, we try to grip it and try to force it back into that time frame or that picture point. And that's not so. So like everything starts changing. So I had to get to myself to mentally to the point that I had to realize it's not going to be the same. I have to alter my thinking and learn how to cope with the new requirements of the job. And that's a very hard thing to do because I've been with this job for almost 20 years now.
Yeah.
So you figure at this point, I'm kind of like riding on cruise control to my retirement. And I don't want new things changing. Just like you said, I don't like change, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then I had to get myself mentally saying, this is how it's going to be. And bottom line is, I need this job to feed my family. So I had to get to the point that, okay, I'm no longer going to be in Jersey every day anymore. I have to accept the fact that I'm going to be in Philly one day. I have to accept the fact that I'm going to be in Delaware or other parts of North Jersey, South Jersey. It's not going to be every day I'm going to be in my area anymore.
Yeah.
So as soon as I learned how to let that go, I started learning to forgive my employers for what they were doing, because then when I started letting go of the anger of me doing all this all the time, I didn't feel angry about them anymore, because I learned to adapt to the situation. To the point is now it's like, even though it gets rough sometimes, but it helped me to adapt more and to be more like a hybrid besides being something,
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Like it was a rough transition. Now it's like to the point that I can go to work and there's some areas, even though it's not my area, I can go, oh well, I'll take it, because I know I can do it, and I'm used to the mindset that this is going to be the way it is for a while.
Yeah.
Until maybe things get back to normal in a few years after the pandemic. So that's like one of the avenues with my job, with changing, And then it's like, just other things in life,
It's definitely one of those things where you have to look at the other perspectives and things that add on to it.
Right.
Yeah.
But the main thing was, like I was trying to tell you, is you don't take it home with you. That's another thing that helped me carry through these years. Like a lot of times you ask me, how's work? And I go, it's work. You know what I mean? But when I get home, I don't talk about work too much. I leave it at the job.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things, everybody, even new kids out there, you have to leave your job at the job, because if you take it home with you, you're gonna take it out on the wrong people that had nothing to do with your frustrations on the job. And believe it or not, being a truck driver, it's a high divorce rate being a truck driver.
Yeah.
And us being together for almost 18 years now?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, 18 years. That's a rarity in this job, And not to mention, she still likes me. So you know what I mean? You know, it's this difference, you know, like I always say, you love me, but you don't like me. But nah, my wife loves me and likes me at the same time. And that's what makes it everything good and important right now. To the point that we could be up all the way up to midnight recording and she's not yelling at me. That's how I know she loves me. So, so any other questions, perspective? Well, like I said, they're going through a lot of things with music.
Well, that's a given.
You know, that's a you know, I've been hitting a couple of rough patches, especially when, you know, I'm not as like, you know, I'm not as technically savvy as my brother is. So like a lot of things I try to learn on my own. I try to tune my ears. You can tell that I'm getting better with my mixes and stuff like that. So, like I said, new year is gonna be a good year. It's gonna be a trying year, and I just got God on my side right now, and I know I'm gonna sometimes stumble. I know God's gonna be mad at me sometimes, but He gives me the perspective to see that what I'm doing, if I'm slipping away, I'm doing wrong, and I need to turn back to Him. Mm-hmm. And that's another thing people don't realize. Like if you slipping, it's one thing you slip, but it's also another thing if you realize you're slipping, and then you gotta get back, and you can always go back to God. Mm-hmm. It's not once you're in, you're out, you're out. There's plenty of people who probably went to the altar like 12, 13 times, and then that 14th time they got their lives right.
Yep.
And God accepted them all 13 times before then. So it's like you can get yourself back into focus and back into the right perspective. You know, and that's probably what this episode is going to be called, perspective.
I like it. Yes, you do.
But you have to change your mindset. You have to change your mindset.
Speaking of mindsets, did you meet anyone like in the past like month or so?
Mm-hmm.
Like, who was it?
Well, who did I met in the past months or so? Well, I know I met your brother. And, you know, he was a cool dude. Shout out to him if he watches this episode. Really cool dude. A lot of times he reminded me of myself, you know, back when I was young. And to the point that it was like that interaction that I had with him that day made me write a song, because it was cool, because it was like the me at his age is talking to the me now, and it was like two spirits on the impasse, but it was the same type of spirit, which was cool, you know what I mean? And that's the stuff that inspires me, because like he inspired me, because it shows you that there's a purpose why I'm here, you know what I mean? Because what did I say on my birthday episode? I wanted to be like the older person showing the younger people the way to go through life, and not just like with God and with being with Jesus, but just with life in period. So you know, when I saw him, and then I said the same things that I said to him, that experienced him, that I went through at his age. I hope it, like, you know, it really go, wow, like I hope this guy, you know,
kind of did open him up like a little bit.
Right. And then that's the thing, and now, you know what, I said this to somebody. What I thought about with children, like a lot of times, you know, this might be wrong, Jenny, you might correct me if I said this, but I say, you know what, a lot of times children, when you have problems with children, especially with their, like, you know, with their behavior issues, what keeps a child hooked on the right path is when they get intrigued with information.
Yeah.
And I explained this to my homegirl Shira. I said, you know, a lot of times kids don't respect parents because they yell at them or something like that, but they're not getting mentally fed, you know what I mean, with information, things that would go, because see, when you get old, like, you know, Sammy's age, You know, shout out to my son. You get to that point, they think they know everything. But then when you hit them with something that they never heard before, that keeps them focused and hooked in. And now they want to know more. Mm-hmm. And that's what the type of person that I want to be. Like when, you know, I don't want to be one of those people like, you know, when you think, like, I'm not a know-it-all, okay? I never try to be a know-it-all. I can be cocky, don't get me wrong. Because look at her, she's throwing her head up. I can be cocky, but I'm not a know-it-all. But when I do know something, I'm not going to be the type of person that will hide that information from people. And your brother was one of those people. Like I did not want to hide nothing from him. I wanted to, again, show a different perspective about what he was going through and show that there's another way you got to think about that situation. And then when you realize, and that's the thing, kids, like I said, when you're at that age, kids think that, oh, this is only this perspective, you know, this is the only way. This is what I see it. But then when you go, no, there's another way of seeing it, that throws them off, and they go, oh. And that's what I believe I should be here for, is throughout the rest of my time to show new people a different mindset of life, to the point that they can shift their focus on getting better, besides shift their focus on doing something either violent or suicidal. And I think a lot of times Christians, you know, shout out to people who try to help people through that time, through their time of need. But I think sometimes a lot of Christians throw the Bible a lot to try to make them sound like they know everything. Mm-hmm. And that's not how I try to do my story times. Because I've seen shows out there they talk about God, and they're good shows. But at the same time, it's like I don't think they don't talk to people like I try to talk to people.
Yeah.
And one example of that is my episode on frustrations. I want people to understand that even I get frustrated sometimes, to the point that even I'm like, God, where are you? You know what I mean? Through that situation. I think that was episode 9. If anybody want to take a look at it, I was really frustrated. So I wanted people to see that, like, look, I go through the same emotions as you. But at the same time, I realized that I got to shift my focus back on what God says and not how I feel. And that's what I was trying to say to your brother. You know? Shout out to him, too.
He's a good kid.
He is a good kid. Very good kid. I hope he comes by the crib, you know what I mean? Maybe chop it up, make some music or whatever, whatever. It's not, and that's the thing too. If you ever see this episode, I'm not a person that uses people for their talents, but I will help you use your talents to get through what you go through. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's like if I'm an avenue to keep people from doing something crazy, then by all means, come to me. Come to Salvwreck. You know, we here to change people's lives through music. You know, saving souls through music.
That's a good cash line.
It is. That's the slogan. Mm-hmm. You know, the movement. Through divine alignment, we make a move on freshly minted paths.
Yep.
You know, that's what the movement stands for. So we trying to use a godly source to change your mindset, to make you move a different path that will lead you to a place of promise and not a place of damnation. Mm-hmm. But it's all about perspective. Perspective. That's the thing this is about.
Perspective.
Initially, I called it survival, but this is perspective. Mm-hmm. You have to change your perspective. Because if you don't change your mindset, you're only going to be lost. Sometimes you have to get a different roadmap to get you out of where you got to go. Anything else?
Yeah, that's good.
So, I know you got a lot of editing to do. It's going to be frustrating, but you know, different perspective. You can do it, but no, I'm just but I just want to say, you know, this it was like kind of like an open format, just trying to get me back into the swing of things with story time. But I hope everybody, you know, enjoyed this episode, or maybe episodes, depending on if my wife chops it up to multiple episodes or not. But I hope you really change your perspective on how things how things really are. It's a difference between what you think it is and what it really is. And like I said, get yourself into a higher power. My power source is Jesus Christ. No, I'm not a fully devout Christian. You know, I'm just like this, walking like this every time. I make mistakes too. And if you see any episodes, or you come see me on the street, come and talk to me, man. I'm down for a good conversation, and then you can see in my perspective, and you see how God altered my perspective to see things in a different light. But until then, Jenny, go ahead and do your edits. Stay tuned, stay alert, and always remember, you are the movement. And Happy New Year, and hopefully we can come out with better, more open, formal episodes of Storytime. This is going to be a good year, so keep me in prayer, and I'll keep you in prayer as well. All right, take care. See ya. Bye.